Hello and welcome to Late Listening. I'm Chris.
Jasmine.
And today I thought we'd do something a little different. Usually we talk about the song or the album that we really like, and we both kind of talk about how great it is. But today I thought we'd do a Crescent versus Jasmine. And we would talk about something that one of us likes and one of us is not so crazy about.
Right.
Yeah, so today we're talking about the album The Bends from Radiohead. This came out in 1995. If any of you have been watching this channel, you might know that I have been doing a few videos on albums that came out in 1995. So this is another one. And yeah, so...
30 years.
30 years ago. I know, it's amazing. We won't be playing any music in this video, so if you want to, listen to some of the songs or if you've never heard Radiohead before, I guess go check them out. And meet us back here for our conversation. So you might be wondering why I have two copies of the Bends.
Yeah. I'd be wondering.
One of them is my old beat-up original copy that I've had since I was 12 or 13 years old. And the other one is one of my most prized possessions. And this is why I love living in Japan. This may be the number one reason why I love living in Japan. Because on this one, you can see here, track 13 and 14 are bonus tracks. How Can You Be Sure and Killer Cars.
Yeah. For some reason, a lot of foreign artists put the bonus tracks a lot for Japanese audience.
Right.
And I have heard like how frustrating it is for like American music fans. You guys have to seek it out.
Right. And it's really expensive, especially back in the day. To try to find it, it was like...
Yeah.
I mean, I would pay like $40 or more for an import album just to get that one track.
I know. And then like, what Japanese people get to hear these songs, And
I know. It was such a mystery to me.
Yeah.
Always the Japanese release. Sometimes the UK release might have a little different track list or something, but almost always it was Japan. Why Japan? Why?
We're special.
Yeah. So, but actually these two tracks can be found on Radiohead singles. They're B-sides from singles. They're not exclusive to this, but I just love the fact that I was able to find this. I love it. Cool. So the only problem with it is that Street Spirit is a perfect like final song, and so then you've got these extra two kind of weird songs. But anyway. So where do we begin?
Well, why do you like this album so much?
Why do I like this album? Well, it was the first Radiohead album that I ever heard. And I was a little bit too young to know their first hit song, Creep.
Yeah.
Creep was on the radio, although in my town we didn't have like rock radio, but it was on MTV. I didn't watch MTV when I was that young. And so my friend's older sister had the Bends pretty much, I think, right when it came out. And so from about 12 or 13 years old, I heard this. And at that time, I was starting to get into like Nirvana or really kind of heavy music. And Radiohead was the first band that I found that was rock, but it was like interesting rock. It wasn't just like you want to just rage the whole time, It was like really nuanced, and they had like sleepy songs and like
this album. Yeah. Okay. So that's an argument, right? That's an argument that you'd make.
I mean, you asked me why.
Like you
asked me why I like the album. This is why I like the album.
Okay. Like to me, this is like heavy. This is like rock album.
I mean, it is rock. It's technically rock, but it's like...
But then you say it's less rocky.
Well, I mean, I was listening to like Stone Temple Pilots and Nirvana and these like
but
really
see,
heavy
like you say that
bands.
because you are a rock fan.
I
guess if you like rock and roll, maybe you'd say that. But to me, rock is not my favorite genre.
Sure.
So this sounds a little too rocky for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I don't like this album because this is not the reason why I want to listen to Radiohead. I like Radiohead, but not this era.
Right, not this era. That's a key. Yeah, that's a key point. Well, I love Radiohead to the point where I always say I love every Radiohead album. But to be honest, there are two albums that I don't really like. One of which is their first record. And so this era, I mean, okay. So I guess another reason why I love this album is because I back in the day, I loved this album so much that then I bought their first album, which is called Pablo Honey. Yes. And I was surprised how kind of it wasn't very interesting to me. Even back then, I didn't know anything about music, but I was like, this album just doesn't have the same like something like Je ne sais quoi. Like I love the song "Creep." Of course, it's a grungy kind of song, but the other songs like never really stayed with me. Whereas this album, just like every song, I mean, it was like I just listened to it all the way through, and it was just so perfect. There was no song I disliked. Now, being middle-aged, I find myself actually liking some of the songs a little bit less.
Okay, for example?
Actually, The Bends. The song The Bends. I'm not crazy about The Bends anymore. It's a weird song, and the lyrics are kind of terrible. Sorry, Thom Yorke, but, you know, I wish it was the 60s. I wish it could be happy. It's like he almost like raps in that song. Like, what is going on with that crazy...
Hey, look, I noted The Bends. Pearl Jam-like.
Pearl Jam-like, yeah. But anyway, it's, alt rock.
That's not a compliment in my language, actually.
I just finished a video on Dishwalla, and I talk about the Pearl Jam connection. But yeah.
Yeah, well, some of the songs sound like grungy.
Yeah.
And grungy is definitely not my favorite genre.
Sure.
That is probably the favorite for you.
Grunge is my favorite, yeah.
So I think the Radiohead in this era was trying to find the sound, right?
It's interesting you say that. No, because I have a little bit of a different take, but I understand what you're saying.
Okay, yeah, it's kind of. I mean, they were still young.
Oh yeah,
and they were just trying it out. It's like a like authors take a while to find their voice. It's kind of like that, I think.
No, you're totally right.
And they were just trying to do the rock or grungy sound, or a little bit like some of the songs do sound like later Radiohead too. So I think they were just trying it out.
Yeah. Well, they were so afraid of being a one-hit wonder.
Yeah.
Because Creep was a huge song, and they didn't have any other... They had other singles, but nothing did anything from the first record. So when they went in to make this album, I think they put a lot of pressure on themselves. And the record company, of course, said, we want another Creep, we want another Creep.
Yeah.
And Radiohead was like, we don't even want to play that song live, let alone make another song like that.
Actually, I read that in this... writer's notes? Liner notes.
Well, isn't it like a music critic's notes?
Yes, music critic, yes. Talking about how the dilemma that they had between the Creep, the success of Creep, and then the process of this album.
Yeah. This is another reason why I love Japanese releases, even though it's impossible for me to read this much Japanese. But you got the OB and you got the music critic doing the extra liner notes as opposed to just the regular liner notes.
Yeah, you can kind of learn the background.
It's so fun.
Yeah. They kind of, I think they didn't like the success of Creep, right?
Right.
And it was talking about how the world wanted another Creep, but they were just no, of course not, because they rebel.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, Radiohead was not so different than Nirvana in the way that, they had this huge song and everybody loved it except the band. And, Nirvana made Smells Like Teen Spirit and it took over the world. And Radiohead didn't really take over the world, but at the same time, I mean, it was always, Radiohead, Creep was always on MTV.
Yeah.
It was a huge song. And they very quickly said, we're not going to play this live much. We're not going to, this is not who we are. I actually think Creep is one of the greatest Radiohead songs. Like, personally, I know that sounds really basic and stupid, but, like, I love that song. I think it's a great song. But I can understand why, they wouldn't want to... But at the same time, I mean, they do that kind of style. Like, I mean, Just has been said, that's their Smells Like Teen Spirit-esque song. I mean, some of these rockin' songs are not that different than Creep.
Yeah.
But it's just more nuanced. It's musically much more complicated. Like, Just supposedly uses, like, tons of chords and, like, weird chord progressions and things.
Sure.
But still, it's like you said, it's kind of sort of post-grunge.
Yeah.
Even though I don't think anyone would consider this album post-grunge, but I can definitely see what you're saying. For me, I think that their first album is like what you said about this album. I think the first album is them trying to find their sound.
Okay.
I think that's why the songs are not very interesting. The lyrics are not very interesting. Radiohead was a college band, and they pretty quickly got signed, and they made their first album. And then they went on this big tour. They toured all over the place, and with the success of Creep. And then they made this album, and I feel like this album was them starting to find their sound. And this, to me, is actually maybe the purest Radiohead sound. Because from this album on, they would shift their sound every single album. And every album sounds completely different. Of course, this album also sounds different than the first one. But this one has a little bit of like the remaining DNA of early Radiohead.
Okay.
And so I feel like, to me, as maybe it's just nostalgia, like this is the first album that I heard.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is a very pure.
Yeah.
This is their sound.
They were starting to find it.
Right.
Yeah.
And they were really becoming confident as songwriters.
Sure.
Thom Yorke's lyrics are much better
I
on
can
this
see
album
that.
than before. And then they did OK Computer, which took over the world.
Yeah.
And then Kid A, which completely shifted their sound, and they kept evolving. But I always hold this up as kind of like, good old pure Radiohead, you know?
Well, music carries a lot of like nostalgia.
Yeah.
It really does. Like you be so biased, you know. I think that's why older people, which we will be very soon, cling on to the old music because you have so much memories and these, you know, like different elements. Oh, you know, so and so like this, or like, you know, I was in love when I was listening to this album, and like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you can't like be really like apart from that.
No.
So yeah, it's very hard to like judge like what it is just simply as music.
Yeah, I can't. I certainly can't separate myself. But you know, I mean, if you look like online at people our age, like a lot of music critics or a lot of fans love this album, and I think it's that reason.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, yes, it's a great album, you know, but at the same time, I mean, like someone like you really like Radiohead.
Yes, I do.
And you love most of their songs, but then you don't like this so much, and you never listen to it.
No.
And I find that to be really interesting. I'm not trying to like be like, why don't you like it? You should like it.
Yeah.
I just think it's interesting.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I listen to Radiohead is the atmosphere music, the electronic sound, and that, you know, it that really puts me into the creative mode. And sometimes I put it on, and then, you know, and then I just try to write or try to like, you know, like doodle, or like it gets me into that mode because it creates that space, atmosphere, you know, sets it right. And then this is like this more band sound, especially grungy sound, is just not for me.
Sure.
Yeah.
So how about the are there any good points of this album for you?
Well, I mean,
because for me it's just like, I mean, I can talk about every song forever, but what do you think is like something you found maybe that you didn't realize was like, oh, that's actually kind of cool, or I kind of like this song?
Well, like you said, you know, some songs do have the Radiohead sound. That's gonna come more later.
Sure.
And I think that it's a melody, I guess, is what it does to me. And then like some of the ballads, for example, Fake Plastic Trees or Black Star,
You
have
think Black
that.
Star's a ballad?
Oh, it's not?
I mean, yeah, maybe it's like a power ballad, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. You would say that's a ballad. I feel like.
So yeah, more melodic.
Yeah.
Songs are. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I like it, and then it sounds like Radiohead. Yeah.
I like the fact that you like Black Star, because that was actually one of my favorite songs on this, and no one ever really talks about that song. Everybody talks about Fake Plastic Trees or Just, or like the singles.
Yeah.
But I think Black Star is like a very underrated Radiohead song.
And also Street Spirit is dark.
I love Street Spirit.
Right?
I love that's like, again, one of my very favorite. Like if I made a top 5, I gotta have Street Spirit on there.
Yeah.
It's an incredible song. But then you were also saying it was like too depressing, or like too kind of like teenagey, like angsty. Like,
But like compared to that kind of like a crazy, like grungy, like like
Just,
violent, like that. I never resonate with that because you are a boy, you resonate with it, and that
Rock,
kind of
bro.
explosion of feelings, like get it out kind of thing. Like I'm more, I guess, inward.
Sure.
So I can resonate with that one much more than this like crazy, like lively songs,
explosive
here.
Sure. I understand. Yeah, I mean, I can be kind of basic, and I can say I love Fake Plastic Trees, but like everybody loves Fake Plastic Trees. That's that's always said as like one of the greatest Radiohead songs, but it is a great song. But I feel like I want to talk about the ones that are like lesser known. Like actually, another one of my very, very favorite songs is Nice Dream. Nice Dream, I love Nice Dream.
Okay.
I think it's
which is in what? Oh, here. Okay.
nice dream.
Okay, I guess it didn't make any impression.
And then it does get kind of heavy toward the end, but then it pulls back to that really light. I think one of the reasons is Nice Dream has really insane lyrics. some of the coolest, like, surreal lyrics. The first verse, he says, "They love me like I was a brother. They protect me, listen to me. They dug me my very own garden, gave me sunshine, made me happy." And then he sings "Nice Dream." "I call up my friend the good angel, but she's out with her answer phone," meaning like a
answering machine.
Yeah, I think that's British. "She said that she'd love to come help, but the sea would electrocute us all." Like, what?
Yeah.
And then at the end, it becomes kind of dark, and he says "nice dream" a bunch of times, and then "if you think that you're strong enough, if you think you belong enough," and then it gets kind of dark, and there's a crazy guitar solo. And I really like how, I mean, it sounds very cliche to make like a song about a dream. Like a dream song. It's like a dream sequence in a movie or a book. It's like really hard to do.
Yeah.
But I think this is actually like a great dream sequence, like
Yeah.
on this album. I really, no one ever talks about "Nice Dream" that I've ever seen. And I always thought it's like a really great, underrated.
Sure.
Like Black Star and "Nice Dream" are really underrated songs on this album. So,
What do you think about High and Dry?
yeah, I like "High and Dry." A good old, sleepy acoustic ballad. I find these lyrics to be really bizarre.
Okay.
Like in terms of Thom Yorke. Like let me just talk about the first verse.
Yeah.
2 jumps in a week. I bet you think that's pretty clever, don't you, boy? Flying on your motorcycle, watching all the ground beneath you drop. You'd kill yourself for recognition. You'd kill yourself to never ever stop. You broke another mirror. You're turning into something you are not. And I always thought it was interesting that Thom Yorke, I assume he's grappling with his own persona. All of a sudden he becomes so famous and everyone's looking at him and, you're turning into something you're not. Now you're a big rock star or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that he puts it as like this like daredevil motorcycle guy. Because I feel like, especially from OK Computer on, he would never write these kind of lyrics, like ever again. He would never have this portrait of like a daredevil motorcycle guy. It doesn't seem like Thom Yorke lyrics.
Okay. But it doesn't sound so like weird and different. I mean, he had this tone of voice like the last time when we talked about Radiohead song. What was it?
Oh, not Radiohead, but the DJ Shadow collaboration.
Yeah.
Uncle, Rabbit in Your
I
Headlights.
can kind of see that.
Rabbit in Your Headlights, Christian Suburbanites and all that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I noted it reminds me of old Coldplay.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
I agree. Coldplay just cribbed from this album so much. Parachutes is just they're taking.
Okay. Parachutes is just the album.
Yeah, because it took from this.
I don't think so.
It did. Yellow.
Well,
Yellow is a Radiohead song. I mean, it's an early Radiohead song.
I know you say that, and then I know
Spies also.
I just don't agree with it. Like, okay, I'm really kind of strange because I didn't listen to foreign music for a long time.
Yeah.
So I actually found Coldplay before Radiohead, and I when I listened to Coldplay, Parachutes.
Yeah.
Like I was like really blown away, and it had a lot of dark songs.
I like Parachutes a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not a Coldplay fan, but I like that album. It's a good album. But I think DNA-wise, it's like...
Well, that's why music lovers say like Coldplay pretty much copied Radiohead, but I really don't think that.
It's not a direct copy.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of DNA in there, I think.
Yeah, okay. Well,
See,
what do you think?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people also say that Muse, the British band Muse, took a lot from Radiohead,
right,
which
yeah.
I actually didn't hear that as much. Like, I know people say that, and I'm sure that's probably true. I'm not the biggest Muse fan, but like, I mean, early Muse, I guess, sounds like a heavier version of Radiohead, but I never really found that connection much. So it's that kind of thing. But I no shade to Coldplay. Coldplay in the early days, especially, I think they were a really good band. But I do think that they liked this a lot, and they took elements.
Well, Coldplay sounded very original and dark, and of course, it came with like a lot of bonus tracks actually, and it included.
I remember that you played that album for me, and I was like, "What are these songs?"
Yeah,
like I've never heard that.
It came with like
before.
4 different songs, and then like I think it was from like the singles before that. Includes and then like other like weird songs like Brothers and Sisters and stuff.
Yeah.
And
we should show that. I don't. Where did it go?
yeah, that's okay. That sound was nothing like I had ever heard before. Whereas this Radiohead, like that supposedly Coldplay based on, in your opinion, This
Not
sounds
only-
like grunge. It's like
Okay.
doesn't sound so like that original, that like kind of like a smoky sound. Like I don't know how to describe it. Like, I feel like Coldplay back in the day, not nowadays. Back in the day, like sounded like smoky. You know what I mean? Like very dark, and then like
Well, I mean, yeah, dark and kind of minor, and also like, well, they have. I mean, it's always Chris Martin and his guitar, like as
Yeah,
the bass, and then
yeah.
they build all these like interesting arrangements. That's the thing about Coldplay is like the songs themselves, I don't find all that interesting, but like it's like the arrangements and the way that they build around it is interesting,
Yeah.
especially the first two records. I've always found like. The other members of Coldplay are very like underrated people because everybody focuses on Chris Martin,
Yeah.
but it's like, I mean, these guys are holding it up so well.
yeah.
Don't Panic. I mean,
Yeah.
some of those songs are really, without them, it's like, I don't think that song would be that interesting.
It always kind of sounds like woody and smoky to me. I
Okay,
don't know
sure.
why.
One other thing that I wanted to say, he tries a lot of things lyrically, I think, with this album, which is interesting. And also he tries a lot of things vocally,
Yeah.
which I've also found that interesting. Like there's a lot of Thom Yorke's on this album. You know what I mean? Like he's using falsetto for the first time. He's like he actually sounds sulky, you know. He does the big ballad singing like Black Star and Street Spirit, you know, that fade out, you know, he stretches his voice, and he kind of almost like kind of scream sings, and like there's a lot of Thom Yorke's going on. Which I think is really cool. And later, he really became much more of a confident singer.
Sure.
But I like the fact that there's a lot of weird singing that he wouldn't do later on this
Yeah.
album. But I mean, it fits the song every time.
Yeah.
But it's like you can tell he also is not so confident as a singer as like what is his voice.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Whereas now it's like Thom Yorke just is Thom Yorke, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, it's like, you know, definitely like it's beautiful to see someone like trying it out. Like at first you don't know, you know, you have to try everything.
Yeah.
And it's like for anything. It's like making YouTube, or it's making you know, something creative, or like it's anything. You just kind of have to try and like accumulate some quantities
Yeah.
rather than quality, and just gotta find it, you know, yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of people just think about it and just don't try it out as an action, and then just, you know, in the speculation they get done. But
Right. Yeah, it's just cool. I think Radiohead was trying really, really hard with this
Yeah.
album. You know, the musicianship, the lyrics, the singing. I mean, everything about it. It's like them just putting everything that they had to try to not be a one-hit wonder, I think, and try to, you know,
Yeah.
evolve the band.
it's kind of interesting to think, like, you know, how Thom Yorke is a very introverted person,
Yeah,
and a very artistic person.
Yeah, yeah,
so
very much.
I can see he was like kind of resisting to be like very, very popular. But at the same time, he was, you know, trying. It's like, you know, he was probably between of this, like, well, I want to do what I want to do,
Yeah.
versus how can I put this out there so that, you know, a lot of people can listen to my music.
And the record label still had a lot of power at this time because Radiohead was not such a huge band.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the record label is asking for another single. They're, you know, really putting some pressure. And Radiohead's a new band. Like now Radiohead is incredibly powerful. They can do literally whatever they want. But at this time they couldn't. You know,
Yeah.
they had to find their little spot
Yeah.
within the alt-rock grunge, you know, scene. Post-grunge especially. And we watched some of the music videos.
Yeah.
From this album.
Yeah.
And it's funny to see young Thom Yorke,
Yeah.
you know, like in Street Spirit, you know, it's all black and white, and he's looking down, and he doesn't really look at the camera. And then it's like in Just, he's freaking out and like screaming
Yeah.
into the microphone and like
which
doing
is the one I liked.
a Street Spirit.
Okay, Street
Fade,
Spirit.
fade out, you know, the
Yeah,
black
yeah.
and white.
Yes.
Yeah,
That
but then
one
in
was really good.
Just, you know, he's wearing the suit and
Yeah,
he's like,
yeah,
he's
yeah.
kind of going
Yes,
insane.
yes.
And then in Fake Plastic Trees, he's in the shopping cart.
Yes, yeah.
High and Dry, it's kind of like in the diner.
Yeah.
And then even then it's like all these different Thom Yorkes. You can kind of see different sides of him. You know, he doesn't really want to be filmed, but then at the same
Yeah.
time he's the front man.
Yeah, I
he's the
know.
singer. So you got to be filmed if you're the front man. You know, and so
I
you can see
wonder
he was
how,
grappling
yeah,
with that.
how he made it all right for himself to appear, because I feel like it's very easy for him to just kind of hide in the
Yeah,
room, you know.
yeah.
But I wonder what drove him to be able to do that.
I wonder too. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever seen the documentary that was made after OK Computer, which is called "Meeting People is Easy," and it's a very depressing movie about Radiohead on their OK Computer tour, and how they're just so tired of being this giant band, and Thom Yorke's like having a breakdown, and
Yeah.
Yeah, but then after that, they kind of went away for a while and they made Kid A. And it seems like after that, Thom Yorke was okay. Like, he just kind of... I think maybe because he did more of what he wanted to do. Mm-hmm. Once OK Computer came out, they became this giant band. And they really had power to do whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why.
Yeah.
He got a little bit freed.
Mm-hmm. I think his existence is very encouraging for people, especially like sensitive people.
Yeah.
Or private people.
Yeah.
To, continue making art. And I mean, I get that, like just him being himself in front of the camera, like it really kind of...
Yeah, it's encouraging. I mean, he had a lot of struggle, I think, to be like, I want to be creative, I want to do music, but then I have to be this front man, and I have to be, you should be a rock star, whatever. And he didn't want to do that exactly, you know. Michael Stipe from REM talked about the same thing. He said, I would have been a good pop star, but I wasn't a very good rock star.
Yeah,
Sure. And it's like some people, I mean, they just really want to make music, but it's like, Michael Stipe's the front man of REM. He has to be, somewhat of a front man.
Yes.
I think, I don't know how everybody feels, but I think A Moon-Shaped Pool is one of the greatest Radiohead albums. That was their most recent one. We love that too.
Why they haven't released after this?
Oh, they're doing, Tom and Johnny are doing The Smile. Yeah, it's been a long time. 8 years?
9?
9 years?
Yeah.
Oh, 2016. Sorry, I thought it was 2018. Yeah.
That's a long time.
That's a long time. Well, that's why I was saying the other day, like, maybe Radiohead's done because,
Yeah.
Tom and Johnny Greenwood are having such a blast doing The Smile. They keep putting out Smile records.
I like Smile too, don't I?
Yeah. We listened to the first record a lot. I haven't spent a lot of time with the second one.
I have some favorite that I go back to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we bond over a lot of Radiohead. I mean, from Kid A on, like, we like everything, except In Rainbows is kind of a weird. Well, I hope you enjoyed this this discussion of the Crescent versus Jasmine. Please don't let all the trolls come out of the woodwork and attack us for saying that The Bends is not, the greatest album or...
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about albums from 1995. I'm going to continue my series on that, and I just wanted to bring you in as another perspective. Instead of everything online, it's like everybody loves The Bends. Like The Bends is the greatest album. It's an underrated album. Blah blah blah. But then, like, there are some people who like later Radiohead, and I wanted to give voice to those people. So.
Yeah, definitely. This is not the reason why I like Radiohead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But thanks for talking with me anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think of the album.
Yeah, we'd love to know what you think. Even if it's, if you don't agree. Well, you have to agree with one of us, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. See you later.
See you later.